Alright, so welcome guys to, finally Fridays with xhu98, number, 34, and I'm very glad to see all of you here. I know it's been almost 1 hour and a half since our scheduled start time, and, honestly this has been bugging me for quite a while. I'm trying to improve the quality of my shows, but for some reason, things don't always work out well. But I'll keep trying, and I'm not gonna give up. And if you guys enjoyed this show, please do like the forum thread as always, and thank you so much for your support so far. And I was going to mention a couple of things actually before we start. I wonder if you guys caught that, but okay, I'm going to send the link just now. Here. Okay, cool. So did you guys enjoy the review by crodgers, by the way? Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's that guy's great. Um, you are indeed. And yeah. And by the way, sorry for all the technical problems. There really isn't a lot I can do about it. And you guys are not gonna see me on video this time, but yeah, I'll still try to review this game for like about 1.5 hours. And before we start, I want to mention two things. One of the things we've been organizing recently is the OGS Ringo World Cup. Is actually a really big tournament that we're going to host, and basically you're able to pair up with other players of the same country, or if you're in the United States or Canada, you can choose to pair up with players of the same state or province. Could someone get a link up there? Because it's also available on the forum. So if you go to the forum and search OGS Ringo World Cup, there we go. Yeah, thank you very much, Cat and Tier. So that's the link to the thread, and if you're interested in participating, please do check out the handbook as well as the registration form. One of the other things that I want to mention is as the Nova League, or TNL, we're always trying to produce great stuff, and we're always trying to keep them free, but this is the time we ask for more support from you guys, because we really want to host good events and good tournaments with decent prizes, and we do want to, purchase more amazing gifts, such as gift cards from Utopian, or what's it called, Yellow Mountain Imports, both famous retailers that you can buy basically Go books and equipment, as well as software and all kinds of things. We really want to reward our players in the World Cup, and so here's the link. If you're interested in supporting us, You don't have to donate a lot, but every bit is highly appreciated. And so that's our link on Patreon. It's a platform for, it's like Kickstarter, but it's much more for supporting the content creators, the people who make the online communities awesome by creating content. So if you would spend just the money for a sandwich and support us, it'll be money well spent and for a good cause. So I hope you guys will consider this, and thank you guys so much for being on the show. We're gonna get started now. Yep. So here we have a game between crodgers and Basti-B. I think this is actually one of the league matches, and one of the closer ones. I remember seeing this game right after the 22nd. Oh, okay. Maybe you can add goals to it so we can see when certain points are reached. Yeah, I'll consider doing that. But generally speaking, the more we get for the fund, the better the prizes we'll get, and there'll certainly be more players attracted to OGS and attracted to Go if we do offer them cool prizes, because that's always been the factor of a factor of attracting people, I guess. But yes, I'll consider doing that. And just to clarify, you can also do one-time donations. It doesn't have to be like a certain amount per month. You can just chip in like once and for all. Yeah, so there's that. Anyways, this was a pretty close game, and I remembered seeing this right after the Friday's show number 32. I was hanging out with Mark 5000, and we were watching this game in chat, and it really was a close game. Now, I'm not going to disclose the results just yet, but what happened in this game was actually quite interesting. And by the way, crodgers, you can add your comments as we go, or if you have to leave now, please do so. And thanks so much for helping out today. I absolutely enjoyed what you did. Okay, cool. So to start with, start the game, Black actually played the double 3-4 opening, and this was very interesting. And I would normally play this as Black, and subsequently something like this. And Black is going to possibly split on a side, so that would be another game. And I talked about this a few times on the show, especially with Kuroneko and Mark 5000. So, and yes, the sound is being recorded. At least I think, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check. Yeah, it's being recorded. Yeah, so and I'll upload this to YouTube, even though it actually has no face cam of me or sound from any other reviewers. Um, it's kind of difficult, but yeah. So in the game, black played the one space low enclosure here, which I thought was interesting. And C. Rogers said he really learned an OP move from um, Haley's lectures, because after white approached black's corner here, what he did was actually pretty astonishing and very interesting indeed. So I don't know. I talked about this a few weeks ago, but I was just wondering what you were thinking there, C. Rogers. Um, do you think like is okay? Wait, hold on a second. I'm not sure if you are being recorded now. Uh, yeah, not be. Yeah, so yeah, you guys can hear him because he's on the Tiny Chat broadcast. But I'm not recording your voice right now. Yeah. Yeah. So this is really cool actually, and we're talking about I was thinking White might do this and really stretch out on the side, and that would be a good opening for White as well. And like I said a couple of shows earlier, um, oh, and once again, sorry that your voice cannot be recorded to your orders. Um, but we'll eventually get used to it. Uh, okay. Yes, thanks to you, Rogers. Nice hanging out today. Um, yeah, so basically, I talked about the power of that of the attachment. Basically, uh, just to recap a little bit, Black has a few options. For example, the extension at A or B, or the Han at C. Uh, okay. Yeah, Nathan just said I recommend QuickTime screen recording with audio, and yeah, that's what I don't know. I've always been trying to find the perfect plan that works for OGS and um, works for OGS and for streaming itself. But yeah, so basically, what I was saying here, Black had a few options. For example, he could extend at A or B, or Han at C. And for example, if he Han is at C, what could happen is this variation, which I talked about a couple of shows ago. But in the game, when Black played the outside extension at R15, this was really good for white because even though it seemed that black is trying to shut white off, um, it kind of reserved the agi in the corner. For example, white with Hane and 8 in the corner, which actually happened later in the game. And if white Hane is right now, black might not take this too big of a deal, but it's a really large move because if white actually lives in the corner, then he can live up to like let's say 4 or 5 points. Well, this corner was initially black's and worth at least like 15 points. So if you think about it, there's actually a 20-point difference, and so white played really safe there. And Grayson East, I think, yeah, OGS has an audio option, and that's what I'm using right now. That's why you can hear me. But the thing is, we can only use like external resources such as Tiny Chat, and we'll eventually have to work things out because the current OGS audio can only output the voice of the reviewer. Not like, but for example, if you're someone like me, who tries to like invite people over and commentate together, then it's a real problem. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And previously, I've been doing this on Twitch, but to be honest, even though we had video cameras on and people could see us, it really wasn't that great because not many people are watching us. Because the link is not on OGS. Yeah, Hangouts was what I just tried today. Yeah, but like, oh, it's okay. None of the things actually worked out because it's Friday the 13th. But anyways, I'm gonna stop ranting. Yeah, so what I was suggesting here was white could actually Tanuki. Because if you think about it, there really isn't much black can do about this shape right here. So, for example, if he tries invading, then white would play this Kosumi at Q9, which would deny this invasion. And as you can see, it's very hard for black to live in the territory. Even if he lives, white is gonna gain a terrible lot of influence on the outside. And that's not too good for black because he hasn't gained a lot, and white really has a lot of influence on the outside. Plus, this stone at R12 is kind of hurt. If you think about the fact that white has a stone at S16. So, black's invasion at R8, to be honest, is not that dangerous. And I actually suggested another option for black, which is the shoulder hit here. Yeah, you can absolutely draw lines on the board. See, like on OGS, there's one thing good about uh just doing stuff on OGS directly. There's no lag. I can see your guys. I can see your guys' comments like right away. There's no lag at all. I can just like I can just read you guys' comments. I feel like that's the best thing. And basically, I was suggesting the shoulder hit at Q9. For example, if white responds by playing at R9, then black is going to gain a whole lot of influence on the outside. Loco asks, would white at Q10 rather than R10 be bad? But yeah, that's a good question actually. So you're saying suggesting this one, right? Yeah, I would say this one move at Q10 is not as good as R10. That's why you don't see a lot of 3-space high extensions on the side nowadays after the sequence in the corner, because black can actually do this. Black, yeah, do the R15. Well, yeah, sort of, because after black's extension, the R12, he really has that. He really does have that comfortable structure. And what's even worse, if white tanukis, black could really strike a blow by invading at R9. I noticed that this move is very aggressive, but it actually works. For example, if white tries to respond at R10, then what could happen is it's going to be very difficult for white to actually cut black, or at least like separate black from the top group. And if he fails to do that, his group is basically left without territory or eyes, and therefore a weak group. And that's not what you want to happen. Can't speak for some reason, because my mind is still a little bit blown by the fact that there just isn't a single working tool. But yeah. But that was a good question, Maloko. And I think because modern Go is very territorial and aggressive, no one really, I mean, not a lot of players really play on the high lines anymore. If it's not necessary. Like in the old days, it's more a choice of style. But to be honest, the third line moves are a lot more preferred than the fourth line moves in general. And when I'm talking about modern Go, I'm talking about trends that are happening. I would go forth and say, in the past, since the past decade. Because the thing for games nowadays is the pace is faster, and you get like 6.5 Komi or even like 7.5 Komi, which is a crazy lot if you think about it, because you need to make up like one more point to win the game as black. And in pro games, what could easily happen is like fights are initiated just because players are fighting over one single point. So so I thought white could have Tanuki there, and oh, and by the way, if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I've finally found a platform with no lag. I am so blessed. Yeah, so after this, black actually approached, and C. Rogers was kind of wondering if the low pincer here was a good idea, and we're talking about the fact that black actually has stones on the third line. Was e4 the best attack there? I would say yes. Because black had two stones on the third line. The fourth line approach makes much sense. And if you're talking about this exchange here, then you can certainly play at k4. Because you already have stones on the third line, and it is coherent with your structure in the bottom right corner. And that's why you can play like the fourth line extension here. And Maloko says, can't see that white could play something like d7. Makes black side too large, similar to this. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would pick d7 as white, because black is simply attached at c3, and continue at d3. And if you dare extending in the corner, black is going to simply clamp, and white's shape will be broken. So normally, white is going to continue with b5. But after black's reinforcement on the bottom side, there's an easy problem at c9, because if black gets this point, then that weakness at c6 is really easy to spot. So and if this happens, then you really find the white stones in a rough position, because you don't want to proceed with potential weaknesses in your groups. There we go. D6 is not so bad. Because if you play this, then and here subsequently, white is better off on the in the bottom left corner because now his stone is at d6 instead of d7, and you notice that is less awkward if you want to put it that way. Because right now, the white stones are closer to each other, and even though they seem like not that efficient, uh, the shape is much better. Because if you play at f7 now, black is not going to go all the way there. There isn't really much he can do. So, for example, like this. Oh, you guys are asking how I put like all the labels on the stones. uh, okay, okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I tell people. Basically, go to the letter label, and shift click on the board. So you press the shift key and left click on the board at the same time. And you have to make sure that ad block is not interfering with OGS. And if you see the what's it called, a dialog box, you can type in up to 3 letters of your choice. Yeah. Maloko asked, my original question remains, isn't pincer best option? Let's actually see what happened in the game. In fact, this turned out pretty well for white. But, the thing is, he was wondering, like, if his stones will get attacked, because as you can see here, and by the way, this is actually one of the more common josekis nowadays. Black attaches, white attaches on the no, white jumps on the left side, and black secures the corner, and white jumps out. And normally you'd think this is looking very good for white, but in fact, if you look at the environment on the bottom side, the bottom side is interesting, but more importantly, white is kind of weak there if you think about it. So if black plays this right now, white will have to kind of reinforce his groups. And yeah, moreover, black really gets a decent corner, and even though white seems to be moving pretty fast with both of his groups, I say sort of settled, but not entirely settled. You really have to, because you really have to look at the surroundings, and in this case, white is kind of extending against the wall here, because black already has 2 stones at O3 and Q3. It could be a potential worry that white may be left with a weak group here. So I definitely think the fear is valid, and plus, if black chooses to play this, well, obviously this will still be an interesting fight, but since white has 2 groups to handle, it's kind of difficult for him to handle, like to maintain control over both groups. So yeah, the question is what to do. I think I would recommend this one actually. Uh, or just for the simplicity of it, detachment at E3. Even though this may seem to give black a decent side, what I could do, what I could possibly invade like at M3 in the future if he's feeling really aggressive, or just simply reduce at M5. That's gonna look really good too. Exactly, and because you get to be Sente, White could play. White could grab the largest point on the board, which is the enclosure at F17. And by the way, that move's really huge because it, first of all, encloses the corner and reinforces the left side and reduces black's top side. N5 is a secret weakness of playing R5 E3. You were talking about like the move here. Like I wouldn't call this weakness. But it's a really decent expanding for White. Right. That's it really depends though. Like if you place one more move on the left side, that to me it still makes the left side interesting. Even though White actually has 2 stones on the left side. And Maloko asks, could Black Tanuki here? Well, the thing is he can, but White is always gonna get good profit of Black Tanukis because you just break into Black's bottom side by attaching at N3. So yeah. Well, I'm talking about well, this move could be played in the future, but if White gets a chance to play it, it's gonna be a really large reducing move. I think that's the right term for it. Well, obviously Black can also play at O5 if White doesn't. But like how likely do you think Black is going to play this right now? Not too likely, right? Because Black's bottom side is already pretty strong, and he's now going to cause immediate trouble for the White group on the right side. And furthermore, this framework here is actually very good. So White expanding this way and going into Black's top right framework. Well, yeah. So I would say timing for O5 or N5 is kind of off. Yeah, that's what I said was white or black could do that in the future. But since black has a stone at K4, it's not like first class urgent for black to defend at, for example, like M4 or M3 after white's move at N5. But white can always come back and do this because currently the enclosure at F17 is infinitely large. But in the game, it actually worked out pretty well for white. And black had to settle his groups in the bottom left corner, and as we saw here, white was actually in pretty good shape. What I was suggesting though was white actually continue at L4, and if black extends at M3, then white could just simply seal black in. And as you can see, if you seal your opponent in like early on in the game, then white will have really good potential for making a very large moyo here. Yeah, that's right. And if black doesn't respond, first of all, this will be terribly huge for white if black doesn't respond. And plus, I think, okay, that's an interesting question actually. Plus, there will be some moves like here, some moves like P for white. For example, if you connect here, then this is clear trouble for black. So something like that. And it really leaves a lot more agi if you, let's say, connect here. Because it creates a lot more cut points, and plus you can still do something like this. And if black extends, then white can shot him off, and build this wall here, which is so large. It's like literally visible from outer space, in my opinion. And if you have that early on in the game, it really is just a matter of time when you're gonna get tremendous amounts of territory from in the center. But in the game, I actually thought this was a little bit slack, because think about this. White did not make a lot of territory here, and black can totally Tanuki, because for example, with black. Oh, and by the way, that's what black played in the game. So black Tanukis, and white wants to seal black in, like something like this. Then why did he play the move at K7, right? If he could seal black in with one less move. So that's the problem. Um, yeah. And Nadal said, yeah, now K7 should be at K9. Something like that. But, okay, so here's my question for you. What happens if Black invades and tries to reduce? So what's White's plan here? What should he do? Look at this, White cries. So yeah, I was cause I was I was talking about this with the Rogers, and um, we reached the conclusion that moves like this sometimes you see a lot of invading moves like all of a sudden that your opponents just play because they see you have that huge wall and they're panicking like, whoa, my opponent's gonna build a pretty large moyo in the center. That's when they panic and play moves like this. But my suggestion is you should not worry about it at all. And there are a couple of reasons. First of all, if you think about the move at K10, it does not gain any points by itself. It's just a single stone in the center with no actual value, right? Like there's no way Black could enclose territory with just one stone here. And second of all, because White could actually attack him in the future, now that this group has not had two eyes yet, Black is kind of creating a weak group here out of nothing. And one thing you want to pay attention in Fuseki is you actually don't want any weak groups for your opponent to attack as target. And last but not least, you could always come back and defend at somewhere like L9. And yeah. Oh, but the thing is, Nadas, if you play L9, then I'm not sure if Black's going to follow you. What if he plays at C14 first? Right? Then, then even though your territory is not damaged that much, you have still lost the benefit of Sente. Right? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he could also ignore. And if that's what you play, then the Black's goal has been met. That's what you want. Basically, reduce your territory to the L line or like the 10th line on the board if you are seeing the coordinates. And if that's his goal, he can now play at C14. And that's very good initiative for Black. Exactly. So Maloko said it would take 2 additional moves in addition to taking to really reduce White here. And while Black does that, one of the larger moves, for example, like F17, is the enclosure I've always been talking about. That's the really large move here. And like I said, first of all, it secures the corner. Second of all, it helps White on the left side. And third, it actually reduces Black on the top side. And even if Black actually jumps at somewhere like M10, he can't really do that much of damage to White, because White is still strong and he still encloses a certain amount of territory, even though it's somehow reduced. And you cannot compare that loss to the gain in the top left corner. So this is why I say moves like this you do not have to be afraid of. Simply because of those three reasons. And by the way, we actually have about like 25 minutes left, so I just want to check with you guys and see if you have any questions I haven't answered. And yes, of course. Because I just want to take a brief pause and see if I answered everyone's questions. But like I said, Grayson is asked, what is the biggest difference between an SDK and the dumb player's thinking, in your opinion? First of all, I would say dumb players have better microphones. No, I'm just kidding. My microphone is really loud. But yeah, I think both SDK and dumb players know what's really going on in the game, but dumb players really have a strong ability to turn games around and keep that initiative. And like sometimes you feel like a move is gonna be Sente, but in fact it's not. That's like the fundamental difference between an SDK and a Dun, because they know when to respond and when not to respond, and to nuke and gain that Sente. And if you think about it, like gaining the upper hand and trying to keep it is always game deciding. It's always that important, no matter where you are, whether you're in Fuseki, mid game, or even like the end game moves. Always maintain the Sente, and it's easier said than done. But what dumb players do is, what was that? Yeah, the timing. And the timing is a very important concept for, I guess, almost like every player, because once you start improving and becoming like an SDK, you realize that there actually is a lot more that you don't know yet, and that's, well, sort of timing determines Sente. And I think also the ability to judge which moves are larger, which moves are smaller. Like, for example, if you could see that F17 is way larger than K7 here, even though it has good shape, is actually very good. If you can, is actually very good if you see that. And it really makes a huge difference, because as you can see in the real game, Black actually set up very well on the left side, and that's very different from what White planned earlier, because now Black has taken away like half of the side, and that's not really looking good for White. And actually, Rogers was a little bit disappointed himself as well when we were talking about the game. And on the bright side, White did live this corner, which was huge. Oh, and yeah, you are welcome, Grayson Knees. Yeah, but on the bright side, White did live this corner in the upper right corner, Okay, I just said two words that same in a single sentence, but I can't speak for some reason. It's always difficult when you're nervous and what you're speaking is not your first language. It's just my feeling. So what I thought here, Black should have played at Q18 because it's definitely Sente. If White does not respond to this, Black could simply kill. So, and if White responds, then if White responds, then Black has basically shot off the monkey jump at Q19. Now White cannot do that, and he could expand on the top side. And locals at top right corner is 20 points. Top left extension about 10. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, if you compare the top, are you talking about the extension at B17, something like that, or actually like White's extension at J17. Okay, cool. Well, I would still think that I would still say that J17 is a good move. Because if White actually responds, then you can still play this. And basically you get everything. If Black does not respond, then he will have to spend one extra move in the corner. And if you think about it, I mean, White is not going to necessarily extend like at M17, also play somewhere else, like what I said before. Seal Black in and get that huge chunk of territory in the center. And if you look at Black's structure in the upper right corner, it's actually really upsetting because Black needs 5 moves in order to capture 1 white stone at S16. So that's not terribly good for White. Yeah, Fuseki is actually really complicated. Like, it's easier said than done. Because, Fuseki is what... I think it's the hardest field to improve in. And because with life and death you can just practice more to make problems, and with endgame is not so hard when you realize like all the basic types of endgame moves you can play. But Fuseki is really subtle. It's really is not so clear because it seems that you can almost start the game like the way you want, but like analyzing which style is better is always the hardest question of all. And in fact, I don't think like even the pros could grapple that question completely, because we're always in the process of finding better Fuseki patterns. And I think that's very difficult. But what Black played in the game was L17, which is a little bit slack, in my own opinion, because L17 was not forcing White, because White was not in danger. What's that? Because white was not in danger after, even after this L17 move. Like, if black plays at H17, oh my god. No! No. Okay. I'm not gonna comment on like every move, but yeah. Even after black's move at H17, white could still play at B17 and stay out of trouble. So, white could basically Tanuki here, which is what he did. And then I just commented, I think lots of people think that white's top left group cannot become weak after Joseki, so that's probably a motivation for the shorter extension. But, actually, I think it's worth mentioning. If you do this right now, then the difference between H17 and L17 is that black could immediately play at B17. And the only good way for white to respond is actually at F15. And if black jumps out, then you can compare this and that. Right? Is a lot more territory enclosed. And I say that because if white actually Hanes at B18, then we'll refer to as the classic Tsuji is D18, and this will basically steal white's corner and strip it down to nothing, and white will have to find life, and which is way more difficult, and once again easier said than done. But yeah, I think this is understandable because black actually played this, but he did not gain. He lost the Sente after this. Because he actually played C15, and what I thought was better would be C9, which would strengthen his group on the right, on the left side, and put more pressure on the bottom left white group. So like something like this. Or you know what? Actually, possibly B2 before that. Because even though this move might seem small, it's actually incredibly huge. Because if you look at the move itself, next move black's going to capture at B12, which basically solves the life problem for black's group here. Because black's group on the bottom side is not so strong. After let's say like white gets the Atari at C1. So this really solves the life problem. And in the meantime, it puts more pressure on the on a white group. Like, let me label these. So white will have to kind of play this. Yeah. So white will have to follow at C9. And as you can see, territory-wise, black can even get more aggressive. For example, do the crosscut, And if white connects at B3, he can do that and basically shatter white. So if you're gonna try to avoid that, then this is also huge in a tremendous way. Maybe not right now, because like black would have to fix at A2, and that's not very favorable. But in the future, that's an option for him. In the game, white actually realized that black had lost his Sente, and he was in pretty good shape here. Actually, maybe here would be better, the jump at L15. He actually realized that black had lost his Sente, and see, like, the difference of a move can be very significant. It can be game deciding, because if you see the difference now, all this happened just because black played the Gote move at C15, and now white has this tremendous wall on the in the center. And this is one of the blunders by white, though, because he actually sacrificed a lot of points there. And it's interestingly enough, white lost the Sente here, and as you can see, once again we have witnessed the difference of a single move and how it could change the game. Because as you can see, black has now reduced white significantly in the center, and in the meantime, he has this huge block of territory set up. So if he shuts that door off, he's just that door closed, what we'll have is here is like a huge block of territory. And all of that is created because black took the initiative and actually reduced white. So are there any questions so far? And by the way, this was a huge move. Yeah, what's that? Oh yeah? Yeah, and you thought the monkey jump was interesting? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So Moloko actually just brought up the next one I'm going to talk about, because the monkey jump is huge. It's a huge endgame move, but it's not the largest move on the board, and that's the problem, because this here is tremendous. This here is the largest move on the board that I can think of. And because it really offers that great shape compared to what happened here, because black actually just broke into white's moyo and stole a lot of territory. And I recall that crodgers was facepalming when he saw this. For example, the the black move at S6 would really be comfortable for him, because white would have to connect at R7. And that would be a great sequence for black. Oh, and Moloko was suggesting move 48. Too fast. J17 not better than O12. We are talking about O. Oh, do you mean P12, something like that? Like here? I would say the latter move is better, because the former is a huge move. It's not a small move at all. But the second move at O12 actually expands white's central mode and significantly reduces black's topside framework, the topside moyo. And if you think about it, in the future, white would have the move at P15, which would be a really painful peep. And that's what could happen in the future. And what we're talking about this, white could still live a decent life in the top left corner, and if you compare the amount of points he has after, let's say, capturing at B15, not a lot has changed. So this is what I'm saying. The difference between big moves and critical moves on the board is that big moves are big in value, but they do not have that. They do not have that level of urgency. For example, expanding yourself by a whole lot while reducing your opponent's moyo by a lot. Because P12 actually has multiple. It serves multiple purposes. It does that. It does that significantly. So does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to cover this for like another couple minutes. Here's what I thought was interesting. Black thought the game was firmly in his hands, but then he actually made a blunder here. And here's my question for you guys. What do you think what should do? Yeah. And by that I mean white should not cry. The capture? Exactly. 06. And if you look at that, black cannot work his way out anymore. Isn't that interesting? And because this works, and if white actually played this move in the game, black's effort of reducing white's central mobile would have been totally negated and reduced to nothing. So I found that really interesting, actually. And the end game was very interesting as well, because if we look at what's on the board right now, white played a Gote exchange, and what could happen here is black could actually play a b8 and threaten white to live. Right? Because if white follows now, then he could be in clear trouble here. And don't underestimate the power of this. Black could, or alternatively, black could simply reduce white's living space. Yeah, you're right. Even though white might actually make life, it's painful and small. So, there's an 80% chance that white's going to Atari here and do something like this. Now, if we look at what's on the board, we can get an estimate that black has, like, let's say about 20 points here. He has about like 25 points here. And because this here is very huge, he has about like 35 or maybe even more. And if we compare this to white's territory, white has about 40 here and maybe 5 there, 10 each in the corners. And if you add it up, you notice that black is actually winning by a lot if the game progresses well. And just because white has played a Gote endgame exchange, and black has gained this super huge move at b8, and it's just a difference of a move. So does that make sense, actually? Yeah, so this was what I was talking about. It's just a difference of a move, and it can make a huge difference. I mean, it really could change the outcome of the game. And as you saw, in a similar case, so just going pretty normal here. So what would be the what would be the best move to play now if you are white? Right, exactly. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Yeah, J13. And it's interesting because white could only play J13 because black had missed the Atari at J13 and played at E8, which is large but not so urgent. It's a big move but not a critical move. Because white actually has this Atari at J13. And if it goes like this, then what you could see here is something like So if you see this now, and by the way, white still has Sente after that. Now white could get the largest move on the board, which is N18, because black could not actually escape at at M19. Defending Scote though. Uh, well, that is Sente, right? The sequence here is Sente. And that's the point. Because white could actually reduce black by a lot. And yeah, for lack of a Gote to defend. But the thing is, he can neither play at T7 or R11, right? Yeah, for black it would be Gote to defend. Which means it would be Sente for white to play at J13 first. And if you compare the value of J13 to T7 or like R11, it's way larger. Because previously black had about like nearly 10 points 10 points here in this area. In where I'm pointing here. Now, after this, it's reduced to nothing in Sente. Except maybe like the 2 stones there. So that made a large difference. And what I could tell you was black actually won by 2.5 points. Eventually. After all the counting was done. And interestingly, white did not see the Atari at N18. I thought that was kind of funny. And black actually won by 2.5 points. And it was a very close game. And I have to say there are a lot of good moves in this game. And I was really impressed by the quality of the games we have produced in the Nova League. And I was really pleased by that. So yeah, I feel like you're the only person left in the review. So yeah, just take that as if you like a free 101. Yeah, I was just gonna say if I was just wondering if you guys are still here. The result was black won by 2.5 points. After the Komi. And in hindsight, had white realized the Atari at N18, it really would have made a huge difference. But I mean, unless you're counting very precisely, you wouldn't know that. So from what I counted, actually, near the end of this game, black was about 65 and white was about 60 or 61, something like that. Had white realized the Atari at N18. Yeah, but the thing is, like, the central motor is not as large as it looks. Yeah, N18 was like about 5 points. So I was talking about like something like something like this. Oh, okay. Yeah, something like this. So if this was played, then from what I counted, black would be black would have about like 65 points and white about 60 or like 59. That's what I want to say. And if you count the Comey in, then it's pretty possible that white's going to win by a very small margin. For example, like 1.5 or like 1.5, something like that. But so it was kind of a shame for white that he actually did not win this. Uh, but overall, this was really a well played game. Um, and I was actually very glad to see this level of fighting and uh, like close games with close results in the Nova League. They're really exciting and good for the improvement. And yeah, there's that. Yeah, so overall, I really want to thank you guys for coming to the for coming to the review today, and this was really fun. And if you have any questions uh regarding the OGS Ringo World Cup, please feel free to ask me. And Grayson East, I would love to see you in that tournament too. Um, and Moloko as well, and as well as Nadas. Um, yeah, Ringo. Um, and so basically the group stages are held from April to July. So you basically your team basically has to play three other teams, uh, and you have three games in 4 months. So oh, where's Nados actually? Did he leave? um, but no. Ringo is a lot of fun actually. It requires a lot of teamwork, but it's a very fun format. And plus, oh, and if I have to mention this, the prizes for the tournament are actually huge. But um, just think about it as like just think of it as a fun tournament and just enjoy the process. They say like enjoy the process and the goal will unfold, something like that. So and Ninzi is here as well, and he's already in one of the teams. So I would really love if you guys could participate in that. And if you uh and if you have some spare dollars, please do consider supporting our work at the Nova League and everything we're doing here. Moloko, the group stages are 3 games over 4 months. Yeah, so that's plenty of time for most people. Yeah, that's can you chip in for OGS audio keep its feature instead? Uh, yeah, you could do that. You're already a supporter, and you have the golden, beautiful, username. Um, so yeah, but seriously, I really appreciate if you guys can look at the link. Uh, because it would really help us a lot by like a lot. And basically, what our content is will always be free, but we really need a little bit of extra effort for the prizes. Yeah, if you visit the page, I actually specified what would happen uh, if you donate more dollars. Basically, uh, we have a lot of TNL events going on. Uh, but the thing is, we actually haven't come up with any like really cool things at all. For example, like the gift cards from like Go bookstores, and 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 I really mean it. Like this is going to be a thing, and if we get a lot of money, we might also order custom T-shirts for the winners. And if it goes really really well, and by the way, we need a lot of money for that. We can organize pro lectures on TNL, and that would really be a great learning event for everyone here on OGS and the Go community. Uh, and when we spend all those funds, we will definitely um, let you guys know where where the dollars are going, so that uh, just to make sure that it's money well spent and for a good cause. Um, and it's just for the spirit of non-civi, which means basically means not for oneself. So and you don't have to donate a whole lot, because a lot of people have actually been supporting from like $2, and um, yeah, so that's what I would say. There are also a lot of very good streamers out there, such as Nick Sibicki and Sean Ray, or Clausius, uh, and they are creating the awesome content we see today, and a lot of them live on the support from their Patreons, or at least getting a lot of support from all those funds. So I hope you guys will consider it, and thank you so much for coming to Friday's xhu98 number 34, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and please consider donating. And of course, this show will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so that you guys can check back for for everything I said here today. And let's hope that the video is actually recorded, so that I'm not just making empty promises here. So yeah, and if it's bedtime for you, you should be going to bed, and I will post it. Oh, I should actually link you guys to the page. My channel. There we go. So that's the link to the YouTube channel. So yeah, not yeah, I have a couple of videos up there, and if you hit that subscribe button, you'll receive updates whenever we have new videos. And yeah, thank you so much for supporting this, and we'll see you guys next time, and have a good night.